It took exactly 3 seconds for 40 years of hard work to vanish. Not because of a stock market crash, not because of a bad investment, because a 68-year-old grandfather simply picked up his phone. He didn't give out his passwords, he didn't wire a single dollar to a scammer, but by the time he hung up the receiver, $1.2 million was gone. And the person who stole it sounded exactly like the person he loved most. Welcome to the Final Paycheck. Today we are looking at a terrifying new financial nightmare. One that isn't targeting your wallet, it's targeting your voice. And if you're sitting there thinking, I'm too smart to fall for this, well, Arthur thought the exact same thing. Arthur Pendelton was the kind of man who played it safe. A retired high school principal from Ohio. He didn't do online banking, he hated apps, he still got his 401k statements mailed to his house in thick paper envelopes. He built his million-dollar nest egg the hard way, slow, steady, safe. He thought because his money wasn't on his smartphone, it was untouchable. But at 2:14 p.m. on a Tuesday, Arthur's cell phone rang. The caller ID said Leo, his 21-year-old grandson. Arthur smiled. He answered, but it wasn't a social call. The voice on the other end was frantic, terrified.
Grandpa, please help me.
Arthur's blood ran cold. It was Leo. It was absolutely Leo. It had his slight asthma wheeze, his fast cadence, the exact way he pitched his voice when he was scared. Leo said he was in a car accident in another state. He said the police were there. He said they found something in his friend's trunk, and now he was in the back of a squad car. He needed bail money, fast, or he was going to a county holding cell. Arthur felt that primal, biological panic that every parent and grandparent knows, the instinct that completely overrides logic. The adrenaline completely flooded his system.
Okay, Leo, I'm right here. Keep talking to me, son. Just keep talking.
But here is the terrifying truth. Arthur wasn't talking to his grandson. He was talking to a ghost. While Arthur was gripping his kitchen counter, trying to comfort his terrified grandson, something much darker was happening in the background. This wasn't just a scam call, it was a digital hostage situation. The voice on the phone was an artificial intelligence clone. Scammers had scraped a 3-second video from Leo's public social media, run it through a voice cloning software, and called Arthur. But they didn't just want Arthur to wire them bail money. That was a distraction. They wanted Arthur to stay on the phone, because the longer Arthur spoke, the more of Arthur's voice they were recording. In real time, the AI was capturing Arthur's panicked responses.
Yes, this is Arthur Pendelton. Yes, I authorize it. My address is 442 Maple Drive.
And as Arthur spoke those words to the fake Leo, a secondary machine was quietly dialing Arthur's retirement brokerage. Arthur's broker, a major trusted Wall Street firm, used cutting-edge security. They proudly offered Voice ID. The automated system would say,
"Your voice is your password,"
completely bypassing the need for a PIN number. The machine called the brokerage. The automated prompt asked for verification. The scammers played back the high-definition recording of Arthur's voice that they had just captured. Match confirmed. Access granted. Back on the cell phone, the fake Leo suddenly whispered,
Grandpa, the cop is taking my phone. Please, call your bank. Please.
The line went dead. Arthur's heart was hammering against his ribs. He grabbed his coat. He didn't dial a 1-800 number. He called Sarah, his local branch advisor, a woman he had known for 12 years.
Sarah, I need to wire $10,000 from my IRA right now. It's an absolute emergency.
On the other end of the line, Sarah paused. Arthur could hear the clicking of her keyboard stop. The silence stretched for 5, agonizing seconds.
Arthur?
Sarah's voice was trembling.
What money?
Arthur froze.
My IRA, Sarah. The 1.2 million, I need 10,000 from the cash position.
Sarah took a deep, jagged breath.
Arthur, you just called our automated line 4 minutes ago. You bypassed the security with your voice print. You authorized a total immediate liquidation of the account and an emergency wire transfer to an offshore crypto exchange.
Arthur couldn't breathe.
It's gone, Arthur. Every penny. It's completely zeroed out.
The phone slipped from Arthur's hand. It clattered against the hardwood floor. He didn't call the police first. He dialed his daughter's cell phone.
Where is Leo?
He begged, tears streaming down his face. His daughter sounded confused.
Leo? Dad, he's at the college library. He just texted me a picture of his lunch. Why? Are you okay?
Arthur stood in his kitchen. The house was dead quiet. 40 years of early mornings, 40 years of saving, 40 years of doing everything perfectly right, gone, erased by a machine that learned to speak with his grandson's voice. But the nightmare for Arthur was actually just beginning. Because when he tried to get the money back, he discovered the most terrifying loophole in the modern banking system. The next morning, Arthur didn't just call the bank. He drove to the branch. He sat in Sarah's office, staring at a printout, a piece of paper that proved his entire life's work had been reduced to zero. But Arthur still had hope. He knew about fraud protection. He knew about federal banking regulations. If someone steals your credit card, the bank refunds the money. That's how the system works, right? Sarah couldn't look him in the eye. She pushed a letter from the corporate legal department across the desk.
Arthur?
Her voice broke.
They denied the fraud claim.
Arthur just stared at her.
What do you mean, denied? I didn't make the transfer.
Sarah pointed to a line of text on the paper.
The security system logged an all-green authorization. It was a 100% biometric match to your vocal cords, Arthur. To the bank's computer. It wasn't a hack. It was a perfectly legal, authenticated transfer made by you.
Because the AI cloned his voice flawlessly, the bank considered Arthur entirely at fault. He was completely on his own. Arthur refused to give up. He hired Marcus Evans, a private cyber fraud investigator who specializes in digital elder abuse. Marcus sat in Arthur's living room and explained the terrifying reality of 2026.
Arthur,
Marcus said gently,
scammers don't hack passwords anymore. Passwords are too hard to crack. Instead, they hack you.
Marcus explained the all-green loophole. Banks spent millions installing Voice ID to make things convenient for seniors who hate remembering passwords. But the law hasn't caught up to the technology. Federal consumer protection laws were written in the 1970s. They protect you if a physical card is stolen. They completely fail to protect you if an AI machine talks to a banking machine.
The scammers know this.
Marcus explained.
They know if they can use your voice to trigger that all-green status in the bank system, the bank is legally off the hook. The money is instantly moved to an unregulated offshore crypto wallet, and no lawyer on earth can bring it back.
Arthur realized the horrible truth. The safety nets he trusted his whole life were completely obsolete. But the true horror of this crime wasn't just financial. It was deeply psychological. A week later, Arthur's grandson, Leo, came over. The real Leo. They sat at the kitchen table. Leo was crying, crushed by the guilt that the scammers used his face, his social media, to bait the trap. But Arthur felt something far worse than anger. He felt a profound, suffocating shame. He was a high school principal. He was a leader. He had managed a school district's budget, and he had been tricked by a machine in less than 3 minutes. This is the hidden tragedy of modern financial fraud. The victims don't talk about it. They hide it from their friends. They hide it from their neighbors. They absorb the crushing humiliation in total silence, terrified that their children will think they are losing their minds. Arthur felt like he could no longer trust his own ears. He jumped every time the phone rang. His home no longer felt safe. The outside world had reached right into his kitchen and hollowed him out. But Arthur didn't want to just be a victim. He wanted to make sure this never, ever happened to another family. Marcus helped Arthur build a digital defense wall. And this is exactly what you need to do right now before this video ends. Step 1. Call your bank, your broker, and your credit card companies immediately. Tell them you want to explicitly opt out of Voice ID or any biometric voice verification. Tell them you require a physical PIN number for all phone transactions. Step 2. Call a family meeting today. Establish a family safe word. Pick a word that is completely random. Yellowstone, Bluebird. If anyone in your family ever calls you claiming to be in an emergency, claiming they need money or bail or a wire transfer, you stop them. You ask for the safe word. If they don't say it, you hang up immediately. Even if it sounds exactly like your child crying, you hang up the phone. Because in today's world, human emotion is the exact weapon they are using against you. Arthur never got his $1 million back. At 68 years old, instead of taking his wife on the Alaskan cruise they had planned for a decade, Arthur put a for sale sign in the front yard of the home they built together. He took a part-time job at a local hardware store, stocking shelves, just to pay the medical premiums. The money you have spent your entire life saving, the early mornings, the missed vacations, the sacrifices, it is no longer safe just because it's sitting in a major bank. We live in a world where machines can perfectly mimic the people you love, where trust is a liability. You cannot afford to be polite anymore. If the phone rings and it doesn't feel right, hang up. Protect your family. Protect your final paycheck. If this story made you rethink your security, please share this exact video with your children and your parents right now. Have the conversation tonight before your phone rings. I'm your host. We'll see you in the next investigation.